Enhancement in medical field. However, I'm not too sure that we play does that as well, but we can ask the experts here, Mr. Fahad, who have joined us. Thank you very much, and we continue. We were talking about P3, PlayStation 3, which is the computer game, which is the video game, and how it really helps in medical field.
That's right, yeah. The Sony PlayStation 3 basically utilizes a chip inside. The CPU is developed from IBM called the Supercell Broadband Cell Engine.
That's in the P3
That's
console.
At the heart of it, that's right, yeah. And what it was designed, obviously for the video game market, that's why it was put in there. It was designed to manipulate the numbers to make 3D models very quickly and effectively. And it number crunches. So for example, it makes these polygons, these models very, very quickly, faster than any other processor. Now, obviously this is fine for playing, 3D games, etc., which obviously it was designed for and is a very big hit for. However, Stanford University of America saw the advanced capability of this engine, of this sort of CPU, and they thought they could use it. And the way they've used it is a very worldwide successful program in sort of looking at developing proteins which are medicines or vaccines against cancer, against Alzheimer's disease, cystic fibrosis, and Parkinson's. So all of these diseases can actually be targeted making proteins. Now, to make just one solution of this would take one average computer 30 years to process. That's how much processing power is required, because all the atoms are put into a model and they're all tested, and this amount of computational power is just too immense. So what solutions did they have? They had the solution to use a supercomputer, but these are very expensive and very few and far between. So they looked at the Sony PlayStation 3 and they saw that linking just a few of them together and in tackling this problem makes the 30 years go down to few and few and few and few. So what they've done is they've asked Sony's PlayStation 3 users to install the software onto their PlayStation 3. The new ones all come with the software in the menu. And what it is you leave it after you finish playing, after you've used it for your needs, if you leave it logged in the Stanford University website, and it will then process for 8 hours, and your PlayStation 3 combined with others worldwide will form together to make a supercomputer. You see, you're using all of the different sort of power, you're pooling all that power together into making an effective supercomputer. So this will then hopefully trial out one of the solutions, and hopefully this is going to be making a cure for cancer, Parkinson's disease, cystic fibrosis, and Alzheimer's.
Right. So it's a utilization of a PS, console of a video game. And the only thing is that they are just logging on. They are logging on to that university website, and it's doing its job. So we are using it as playing as well. The children are playing, and at the same time, there's so much involvement with the mind and
the hand-eye coordination,
and quite especially in children, it's very important. It really helps their intelligence, as the doctor says. The coordination of mind and fingers and hand is very important for a child. That's why, you know, if you look into child psychology, they will always say that give a child some grains, rice, so that the child could pick. So when the child picks, it helps his intelligence. Or, you know, like catching of a ball for a child is very important. You know, it helps him grow his intelligence. So obviously these video games do have that, but the point is proper utilization of it, programming it for a certain amount of time. You know, one really have to do that in order that there is a, you know, limited usage, not that one is glued to it. But this is quite, it is a big breakthrough, I would say.
It is, yeah.
That it's just PS3.
Just the PS3, yeah.
Sitting at home.
That's right.
And it is at the same time becoming a supercomputer by joining other computer. So in this sort of structure which the university have used, there is a possibility of new opportunities, a door being opening towards other type of activities. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, this program has been running since 2006 and it's still valid right now. So if our viewers do have a Sony PlayStation 3 at home, they can employ it to also be part of this process.
Regardless of where they are.
It doesn't matter where you are.
Not only in America, but no matter where, in the UK, in Europe, or...
That's right, yeah. You just need obviously an internet connection and a reliable source of power.
Right.
And,
well, I think you're giving a good reason for our children to buy PS3 now.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, if we look towards the fourth generation model of that computer, hopefully the chip would have advanced such that it will be even faster and faster. So, I mean, it's not out of the ordinary to expect the headline in the news, you know, within the few months or maybe a year or two down the line that can, you know, let's say a solution for cancer or a disease was found using this solution. Right.
And I mean, other than that, as we were pointing out to, that the utilization of IT in order to design, you know, ligaments in body, and its replacement, at the same time, it has reached to a point that it is created an image of heart, but eventually a time will, do you think time will come when they will replace the heart?
Well, I mean, as I said, there is a mechanical heart already in place, but that is fixed at the moment. I do believe there are also portable hearts which do pump, and they have a battery of 8 hours which does need charging. So IT is just advancing everything so much. I mean, just a point from our conversation just now, it's very interesting to note that the most advanced supercomputers on the planet right now are not used for medical research. They're used for other purposes, so to speak. So,
right.
Yeah.
And it should be used for medical purposes, you know, to prolong, for the life longevity.
Yeah. But going back to the sort of prosthetic limbs and the sort of design of everything, IT is used, computer-aided design. One computer-aided design technician can replace 5 traditional drafters. So the speed of someone who's using just software is much faster than anyone using pen and paper, and much accurate. And they can distribute their designs worldwide in seconds, instead of having to sort of manually, you know, you have the document, you have to put it in an envelope, then post it, and then see what feedback you get, receive it back, and then edit it. With IT, it's simultaneous. The new software, CAD software that you can get, it allows people which are miles and miles apart, countries apart, to collaborate on a design at the same time. And they can progress things which we couldn't do a few years ago.
Right. Not only design, if you look at it in our day-to-day activity, because I remember taking one of my daughter for an X-ray in a hospital, and it was the report was sent right away to the doctor, while through IT, obviously. You know, they logged into, the doctor could log into by sitting in his clinic about his patient, could find, you know, the scan or whatever the X-ray be, and at that very moment, as soon as I finished, by the time I reached to the clinic to see the doctor, the doctor already have the whole report. However, because the clinic doesn't have the facility to X-ray, to scan, the facility is in the hospital. So in our day-to-day life, it is indeed, instead of previously the X-ray have to come out, it has to be posted to the doctor, like you said.
That's right, yeah. Everything is, I mean, that's exactly the thing. Because as human beings, we want everything as soon as possible. IT listens to our needs and allows us to do things which we couldn't do a few years ago. I mean, let's say if you had to sort of find a book on the internet, and provided it was available free of charge, let's say as a downloadable PDF or a Word document, you can find it and you can look at which paragraphs or sections you want, and you've got the knowledge there, so you can quote or you can use it for your purposes. Before, just a few years ago, we would have to go down to our library, or we'd have to go to our friend, and we'd have to sort of take the book, and it just involves, everything is simplified and very quick and on demand. That's the thing, you see, with IT, everything is on demand.
Right, but at the same time, sometimes this on demand also have an adverse effect too, not to forget that as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
That sort of haste comes within our psyche, within our soul, within our, our morals, our etiquette. So that should be, one should be very much aware of that as well and curtail that.
That's right. I mean, on one hand, you have a whole world of knowledge just sitting there, and all you have to do, let's say, to get into Google is type a few words, press enter. The other side of the scales is one search is using 1,000 servers to get you that knowledge. So we should also be responsible in using IT when we need to, and not just for waste or for wasting time, for those sort of purposes, where we're adversing the environment.
Right. I think one of the things that I notice is that as human beings are inquisitive, they would like to inquire, know more and more. Certain things that there are certain things that they want to know. Okay, fine, they would, in a book. But there are certain things that they don't really know that. They really want to know that. But it's as they are using the internet, IT, things are popping up. They just start playing. It becomes like a cycle.
It does, yeah.
Because that thirst of knowing is there. However, that should be controlled.
Yeah.
Knowing, utilizing the way it should, what we want to know about it. Instead of getting here and there.
I think you've hit the nail on its head. I mean, basically, if you look at knowledge, historically we had knowledge written down in books. First of all, before books, we had the oral method where people would speak a story, we would learn it. There was no writing down. Then we had books, we had libraries. Then coming into the IT age, we started having CDs worth of information, and one CD could have, let's say, a few books in it. A DVD can have hundreds, and with the new Blu-ray DVDs, you can have thousands of books literally on one disc. And going on the internet side, basically, you had websites like Microsoft's and Carter, which is like an online encyclopedia. This was a paid-for subscription service. And then you had the alternative to it, which is called Wikipedia. Wiki in internet language means free. So it is a free encyclopedia available to everyone. And so if you're looking about, for example, let's say a car engine, you will find hyperlinks which relate to other sort of fields. So for example, it would say an automatic transmission for a car, a manual transmission for a car. How is a petrol engine made? How is a diesel engine made? How is this done? How is that done? So you have all these links. So you've clicked on one link, it will prompt you to go to the next link, and so on and so forth. So you will just spend all of your time linking from one place to the other.
Right, and eventually realize that so much time been, wasted. So it should be programmed. Like we said earlier, how when we program something for a program like an IT or there be a robot or something, it uses that much amount of energy, or that the thing that we have programmed, it doesn't exceed that.
That's right, yeah.
However, we tend to burn our neurosensories. We tend to overdo it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. At the same time, in the technology and IT within the day-to-day life, for example, machines and cars, as we said, in automobiles and all that, we also see that it's taken on a different plane, on a different level. IT is taken, engineering and technology and automotive on a different plane.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, for example, as we're talking about engineering, the CAD we were talking about, computer-aided design, anything which is designed on computer, the signals are then sent to the manufacturing, which is called computer numerical control, and the robot is given instructions of how to manufacture that item in the real world. And if you look at conveyor belts which have the robots, so for example in car assembly, I was quite fortunate to go to the Toyota Moto Mochi plant in Japan. There's a city called Toyota City. In the city live people who make cars for Toyota. That's their only purpose there in that city. And it has, I think, 4 or 6 the largest car plants of Toyota. And all the other houses and all the other buildings are all support workers for those factories. So, for example, you have the tire companies, you have the other brake pads, all the other components of a car. So in that city, it is located outside of Nagoya, which is about 2-3 hours away from Tokyo. And I've seen firsthand, robots, making cars, and the whole human process is just right at the end to finish a car. But all of the welding, all of the painting is all done by the robots. And then until it comes to the final point where the robots can't install the seats, that's where the humans are coming in. And the precision in IT allows for a robot to, if a robot is to sort of weld 5 points on the side of a door, it will do that. It will not weld 6, or it will not weld 4. It will not weld in the wrong place. It will weld exactly the same place at the same time. And it's this reliability, it's this quality, which in Japanese is called Kaizen, which is what IT is being used for.
How about the intelligence within the IT, within these robots? Do we see that coming up?
Well, yeah, I mean, you see, that's the thing. At the moment, these sort of robots, these car assembly robots, or even your washing machine at home, or your microwave, or your fridge freezer, I call them dumb robots, where they're given set of instructions and they perform or they execute the instructions, and that's all they do. They're not allowed to think outside. So, for example, the robot which is welding 5 spots, it doesn't say to you, well, shall I weld another 6th one to make the car even stronger? Right. It might make the car last for 5 more years, let's say.
How about washing machines?
Well, washing machines, it doesn't say to you, please can you filter out the colored from the white clothes, for example. So the next stage is called artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence means the robot or the computer is thinking for itself in answer to something. So we saw the example with IBM's Deep Blue supercomputer beating Garry Kasparov, the Russian world champion in chess. So we can see these examples. They're coming, and they're going to get even more sophisticated in the future. Another example is helicopter robots, which have artificial intelligence. So, for example, if you have 3 in a room, and they are all independent of each other, but they use artificial intelligence to do a task, and the task could be that they have attached to some string a piece of wood that they have to fly from one part of the room to the other part of the room. So the engineers would turn on the power switch and all helicopters would fly, and they would have to maintain a certain amount of balance, and they would then fly to the appropriate place. If you were, as a human, to touch one of them and throw it in the air, the other 2 robots would understand that the 3rd robot is fluctuating in flight, and they would compensate to make sure that the piece of wood or the item you're carrying is stable. And so the application of this is for artificial intelligence to become useful to us. So how can it become useful? It can become useful in the sense of robotic helicopters, which are used for in a firefighting capacity. So for example, if you have a large fire, you can have 10 or 12 of these robotic helicopters, which all they do is take water from one place and pour on the fire. Yeah, we can even see this being used in the future, where if there is a traffic accident and the police need obviously a helicopter, an ambulance helicopter, then a robotic helicopter can come, pick up the patient and take them to the nearest helicopter, to the nearest hospital with a helipad for urgent operation. And this will be faster obviously than a human in a helicopter, and you're going to have many of these helicopters near, more located more closely to let's say accident hotspots or what have you.
Right. And within the automotive technology as well, even today, like for example, cruise control and all that, it's all because of IT. And if it is set in a particular mode, particular speed, obviously the engine will eventually last longer.
That's right.
That's a positive way where we could utilize.
And, if you use cruise control in cars, it burns less fuel as well, and it maintains the engine at a constant speed. So you're getting better economy. It's helping your engine better, and also you can allow your feet to have a rest, during those long motorway rides.
Right. And they were talking about car utilization of car without drivers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean at the moment there is something called intelligent cruise control. This has been on the market already, and basically it involves the front of the car having a radar or a laser assembly, and what this does is it looks for cars which are just ahead of the car that you're in, and it can adapt, and if it notices that the car is braking, your car will also brake. If that car brakes to a complete standstill, your car will also brake to a complete standstill. And it is hoped that intelligent cruise control used with satellite navigation will mean that cars can hopefully in the future go from one place to the other automatically without the need of a driver.
Right. And at the same time you have how much of fuel, how much of smog that comes out in terms, that is also controlled as well by traffic jams, people using IT for banking.
Yeah, that's right.
Internet banking it's quite for paying bills, for many things that will avoid people coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
And utilize it, proper utilization of time. Right. Yeah, and it's just the point is one have to adapt.
Yeah.
And other things that you would like to point out in terms of how to adapt, what can be done, as.
Yeah, I mean, for example, if you go back to Google searches or anything else like that, is to use IT for your benefit, and also understand that if you exceed your benefit, then you'll be causing major repercussions environmentally, that is. So
right, it will have a very adverse effect.
Yeah, definitely.
And like we said, a computer, a program, it doesn't destroy. It's not self-destruct. It's not self-destructive.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not self-destructive, but humans are self-destructive.
Yeah.
And there's this envelope. You were pointing out.
Yeah, I mean, basically, computers, robots, technology, they all operate within an envelope. They have a limited amount of power of what they can do. Human beings, on the other hand, we can go from one extreme to the other, and there's just no controlling us. So it's human beings. We should be the ones.
Right, and it is the religion really that
provides the framework,
that envelope, that framework.
Yeah.
That kind of like give you the guidelines indeed, that what is extreme and what is not.
That's right.
It's always the middle way is the best way.
That's right. Yeah.
And
the Goldilocks way.
The Goldilocks way. Yeah, and this is something that is well discussed and accepted and returned by scientists and by scholars.
It is, yeah.
And it is really, we need to pay attention to these things and appreciate them. Thank you so much, Mr. Fahad, for joining us. It was very nice to be in our show, and we hope to see you again. And thank you to all our viewers for watching the show, and I hope you have benefited, and we hope to see you next week again. Thank you and goodbye. Everything that we do today is really dependent on IT. This very television that you are watching me today depends really on IT, and it's provided to you in your house, in different places that you are watching this show. To look into how IT really affects in certain fields such as astronomy, medical field, mechanical and engineering, we have once again invited us Mr. Fahad Munir, who is an expert in IT, who have a degree in IT from Nottingham Trent University, who is Prince 2 registered practitioner, who is a certified professional from Microsoft, and also he's been awarded a professional teacher in IT. Mr. Fahad Munir, welcome to Insight.
Thank you.
And I really thank you that you have taken out time to join us and discuss few things on IT and its proper usage. Let me initiate first our discussion, if you don't mind, that as we have divided, because the subject is quite vast,
yeah.
So we'll look into astronomy. Can you inform our viewers in relation to IT and its usage in astronomy?
Sure, yeah. IT in astronomy, let's first of all talk about how our viewers at home can actually use this.
Right.
On the internet, you can download free software in astronomy, and you can download all the stars charts down onto your computer. So if you're lucky enough to have a telescope at home, you can see some stars, and you can sort of understand the constellations. You can check using your laptop or your computer to see exactly whereabouts in the sky you're looking at, and you can then sort of understand all the nearby planets. And this sort of software is available free of charge on the internet. So this allows you as the viewer to sort of really understand where we are in the universe.
Right, so it really expands him, his intelligence, actually, his knowledge.
That's right. Yeah.
In relation to his presence in the universe. And it is via IT, via internet. And that doesn't really require an expert to really log on to.
No.
It's not very technical.
That's right, yeah. I mean, the thing is, as you begin in astronomy, coming from a beginner to an intermediate to an advanced level, there are various stages. You can even get telescopes which are robotic and which are actually controlled by the laptop. So if you punch in the digits for the star you're looking for, the latitude and the longitude, you can find the exact star. That is obviously getting into more advanced sort of use of the software. But for like an amateur or a beginner, you can see exactly, you can identify the stars using your home laptop or your PC. But the more advanced uses involve things like mathematical modeling of stars. So you can actually track a star from its birth to its death, and you can track that mathematically. You can sort of see the position changes. There is so much application of IT in astronomy that it's really, the technology is increasing every year.
Can we say that it is one of the most immensely usage of IT? Is it in astronomy? Can we make that statement, you think? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is with IT, since it's just started, it's used in everything. I can't imagine anything without IT. The usage is in every sort of field, and certainly in astronomy, it's going further and further.
Because it deals with mathematics.
That's right.
Probably.
Yeah. And computers are very, very good at mathematics, solving equations, and that's the whole sort of, again, using the language of binary, the ones and the zeros. So the computers are very well suited to astronomy because of this.
Right. So what type of usage maybe you could point out to in relation to astronomy and IT?
Well, one of the uses is the case in point being Hubble, which is going to be repaired next week as part of its servicing mission. There's going to be a mission to sort of service the Hubble telescope, which was launched in 1990. So it's 19 years old, and it's using the 486 processor. I don't know if you use the 486 yourself.
I personally don't know, to be honest. Do we have, but we have gone quite advanced now, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. I mean, while in space, it's orbiting in space using a 486 processor. Here down on Earth, we had the Pentium 1, the Pentium 2, Pentium 3, Pentium 4. These were all single processors. Then we had the double, we had the triple and the quadruple processor, whilst our business servers are using 32 or 64 processors in one. But
which is quite advanced
very
compared
advanced.
to that is in the Hubble telescope.
That's right, yeah. I mean, it is quite an old, it's a 19 years old processor, but the processor was designed a few years before the launch in 1990, because the processor had to withstand the cosmic radiation and the immense heat and the application of being used in space. And unfortunately, it's not easy to update it in terms of the hardware, but it does its job in transmitting pictures.
Right, and it stays in the orbit.
That's right, yeah.
Right, and it's what type of benefit it is providing today to our society?
I mean, the thing is that with the Hubble telescope, the advantage it has is it's 10 times bigger than any. It's 10 times bigger than any telescope based on the Earth, because any telescopes based on planet they encounter radioactive sort of cosmic radiation. You have cloud cover, and the light, the wave, when it enters the Earth's atmosphere is refracted and diffracted, and it's bent, and it's not as strong. But because the Hubble telescope is outside of the planet's atmosphere, it doesn't have any of these problems, and because of that, it has the sharpest vision, and it has made many breakthroughs. The Hubble telescope, for example, it has taken a photo which we can see on the monitor, which goes back 13 billion years in time. I mean, that's one of the sort of key benefits.
Right. What can you kind of emphasize, elaborate? What do you mean by 13 billion years? In terms of time?
Basically, if you look on the photo there, some of the earliest stars there, the light came from there to here. It's taken us 13 billion years. So it's proving how long the universe has been in existence. And not only that, the Hubble telescope has provided astronomy with the breakthroughs in finding the rate of speed of expansion of the universe. That also has been confirmed by the Hubble.
So you mean it is Hubble telescope which indeed, like we pointed out, to its utilization of IT within Hubble telescope, and it's indicating how our universe is expanding.
That's right, yeah.
What's the speed of the universe been expanding? Yeah. And with reference to that, there's something in the Quran as well, right? There's a verse.
That's right, yeah. Chapter 51, verse 47 is about Allah explaining how He created the universe with might and is expanding.
How the universe is expanding is also indicated in the Quran
as well. That's right, yeah.
Right. And it's quite fascinating that I think the positive way of utilization of IT, for a common person, he who's not even an expert in astronomy, but he could still log in onto the internet, and he could look at the pictures that are taken by Hubble telescope in terms of the birth of a star.
That's right.
In terms of the speed of the universe expanding, in terms of how the universe looks like, and he could really complement and contemplate and understand that how really how minor his creation is, and how God have created this beautiful mathematically based universe. And no wonder we find that most of those who are scientists, Nobel Prize winners, for example, physicists, they all believe in the existence of God.
Yes, that's right.
They might not call it Allah, or they might not call it God as such, but they believe in a being that sort of controls and who's sovereign.
Exactly. I mean, just to take that point further, Professor Stephen Hawking, who wrote his famous book, A Brief History of Time, He explained how when the planet Earth was coming into existence, how the speed of it, if it was too fast, the particles would not have stuck together to form the planet. And if the speed was too slow, this planet would have been joined with other planets, and it wouldn't have been this planet that we have now. There was a certain speed, and the tolerance, the margins were so minute, they go into so many zeros, that you had to get the speed just right. And there's another author who took this concept forward, and he made a book which is based on the children's nursery of Goldilocks, the story. And in Goldilocks, as I'm sure you're aware, Goldilocks is a girl who goes through the woods. She finds an empty house, right. And in the empty house, she finds 3 bowls of porridge. One is too sweet, one is too salty, but the middle one is just right. So the author of the space book explains that the speed of the planet, of this Earth, the way it formed, was just right. It was not too fast and not too slow. So if all of these are signs that we should really understand our creation. And you're right, I mean, for anyone, they can just go into Google and go into the images tab and just type in Hubble, Hubble, or they can type in, they can find the images. Right. And there is the tab which is for the extra large images, and they can see the image that we had displayed, and they can really understand that we're in the middle, and just to look at the next galaxy would take so many light years to get to, and how amazing everything is.
But it is through IT that it's been IT, provided.
Yeah, and in particular a 486 processor, which is more than 19 years old.
Right, and it's still functioning and providing it.
That's right, yeah.
And imagine, why isn't that they would send a mission for new advanced processor?
I think it's the costs involved. I mean, the thing is, next year, the next telescope which will go into space, it will not replace Hubble, because Hubble is looking at the visible light and the ultraviolet fields. The next telescope will look at the infrared. So it will complement Hubble. At the moment, there aren't any plans to sort of have a match for Hubble, but it's the sheer costs of sending something.
Initially, there was some problem involved with the lens.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the initial lens had a flaw the size of one human hair's width, and due to that defect, the image which came back, the pictures were blurred. So a new mission had to come, which had a new lens, which was manufactured properly, and it then gave the breathtaking pictures as we just saw.
Right. So basically it is indeed IT that provides human beings, human society, which such advanced knowledge.
That's right.
In terms of the space, in terms of the universe.
Yeah, but even despite this, the IT is just a mechanism or a facilitator. It will convey the picture to you from, as we said, 13 billion years ago, etc. But truly it's the human mind and the heart which can admire and love and respect the image. For the computer, the image is just numbers, but for us it's something much more than that. And I think that's what IT helps us to do.
Right, that's the proper...
That I would say that's and even right now, if I were to ask you what is the most advanced computer in the whole world, what would you think it would be?
Maybe you are an expert. Maybe you probably know.
I mean,
point out.
Maybe I could tell you it's the 64 processor server which is powering this company or that company, but it still remains our human brain.
To be the most advanced.
To be the most advanced, that's right, yeah. Right. In terms of the number of calculations that can perform.
Right. And wasn't it that chess, the world champion?
Garry Kasparov, yes.
Right.
Garry Kasparov was a Russian chess champion for many, many years. He was very dominant. And basically IBM created a supercomputer called Deep Blue. And Garry Kasparov and Deep Blue had a match. And Garry won one of the matches. And Deep Blue, using artificial intelligence, beat a human player. So that shows how much knowledge is increasing. Yeah.
Right. At the same time, we find when we talk about space and astronomy, There's other type of drawbacks. For instance, spy satellites.
That's right, yeah.
For instance, how the IT is used in a negative way as well, where instead of looking into the creation up above, instead of looking into, I would say, the business of God, people tend to look into the business of human beings.
That's right, yeah.
You know, like they could even, as they have said, even if there be a newspaper on the floor, and through a satellite, one could really exactly read that newspaper.
Anywhere on the planet, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. It's quite unfortunate that it is not used properly. You know, instead of appreciating the creation, the appreciating, you know, the greatness, it's the opposite. Any other sort of things that Mr. Fahad you could look into in terms of the astronomy? Maybe you can point out to.
I would say, I would just say again, going back to just the image search, if anyone goes onto the image search, the Hubble updates every week, so you can see the public pictures from
and everything
Hubble.
seems to be very mathematical,
Right,
very logical, everything, the principles. And right. And as we, you know, move along to our, as we kind of introduced in the very beginning, at the same time we have the usage of IT today, especially more and more in terms of medical field. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for example, IBM developed the virtual heart. So this is a software program which runs on a computer, and it is a 3D representation of a real heart. So it is pumping. And the use of it is to sort of introduce chemicals and see the effect on the heart and see how it would be influenced, and this would obviously negate the need for animal research. So this is a positive impact that IT is having right now.
Right. So this heart that has been created within a computer, does it have the chemical combination of human beings? It's been already put in there.
Yeah. The heart is used as a complete atom by atom model of a real heart, and it's used for sort of scientific investigation purposes, and this is sort of a complement to the mechanical heart, which I'm sure you've seen, which is used in hospitals nowadays, and also with artificial life support machines as well.
Right. So when someone wants to test a new medicine, they will type in that formula.
Yeah, that formula would simulate coming into the heart, and the heart's sort of reaction would be monitored over time.
So basically, it's really replacing the humans.
That's right. Yeah.
In order for the test, usually what we see is that people tend to complain in terms of where IT is replacing human beings. IT is taking over robots and things like that. But at the same time, you have where IT is positively replacing.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Obviously in this case, the animal rights activists, who are left and right prepared to come out on the street and have a demonstration. Obviously, this software is something which is very positive.
That's right, yeah.
To calm them down, where there is no usage of mice, rats, or rabbits, other animals, where they suffer, just for they become the guinea pig.
Yes, that's right.
So IT tend to provide that, and at the same time we also find knee replacements.
And also another way of using IT to help medical research, as we're talking about just now, is if any of our viewers have any Sony PlayStation 3s at home, they can put them to good use.
So Sony PlayStation 3
yes,
is used for medical purposes.
Yeah.
It's right, and I think that's quite interesting to find out. We will right after this short break.